Hello everyone and welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So my name is Samantha. Before we start, I want to show off my very, very sexy asparagus plant. Look at this. See all the shoots coming up? So this is a 4-year-old plant. It's the 4th year that this has been here. So if you're going to grow your own asparagus, it takes 3 years before you can harvest. You want to make sure to grow it in a bed where it's a perennial, not an annual. So it needs to be somewhere it can be left alone. So I'll be harvesting fresh asparagus here very soon, and I am so excited. I just had the best video with Dave Hodges in the Common Sense Show. You guys, it was off the chain. Now, I'm going to clip in a few minutes of that video, but I really want y'all to go watch it on Rumble. That's where he's at. It's the Common Sense Show, no spaces. We talked about everything. It was an amazing, amazing video because something's fixing to happen. We all know it. We all know it. If you're on this channel, you know it. So Dave and I cover corruption, DEW weapons, what's going on with the military currently. You know, the bills out there to not allow us to have a militia, the bills out there to pull us out of the UN and the WEF. It's good stuff, you guys. Go support Dave. He's rebuilding his platform because he was taken off of YouTube. So God bless you guys. Enjoy this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to help support us, because we have been demonetized, and I'm still waiting to see what they're going to do with the appeal, you can drop something in Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, like we're not noticing. And then the claims that, oh, we're not going to do smart cities. That's exaggerated. We didn't do it for that reason. That's why Jeff Bezos offered $100 million to rebuild Lahaina as a smart city. And why the governor was at the UN on tape saying smart city, smart city. Yep.
That's
they
right.
Lie. They lie about their lies. It's just, and we
They
catch
do
them all the time.
And also what I found very interesting when we started hearing about the toxicity of the soil. Well, that is what I actually do. I'm into regenerative soil health. So from a soil standpoint, I became very interested when I'm sitting into these Zoom calls with people from the EPA and, you know, all these big alphabet groups, and I'm hearing them say things like cobalt, lead, arsenic being found in the soil. Now, this is weeks after the fire. This is before even people knew what they had found on their property. And I'm hearing all of this, and I raised my little hand on the Zoom call, and they asked, you know, yes, Ms. Starkey, you have a question. And I said, where is all of this coming from? Could it be connected to all the EV batteries that are located on Maui? Because per capita, they have the highest EV per capita of any city in the United States. They love smart vehicles. And they all went silent. And I went, okay, so what, we don't understand anything about how these fires that start with EV batteries can be put out. We don't understand the long-term issue with the batteries once they're no longer good. So could the cobalt and the lead and the arsenic all be coming from the runoff from the batteries? And it was like hearing crickets. Nobody wanted to answer that.
Are they worried about the toxicity as an after effect on human health, do you think?
They are, but they're never going to admit it.
But I wonder if that's what led to their silence when you said that. Because when you said what you said, I'm thinking if this gets in the system at all, whether it's water, soil, or whatever, you know, and people ingest this, that's cancer causing.
Yes, sir. There is no safe amount of lead for a pregnant woman or a child. There is zero.
That's right.
Zero. And I recently watched where the mayor and everybody came together and they were talking about how they had been performing lead tests on participants, and they were excited to say that nobody was above like a 10. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh. So people are showing up already with lead in their body, and you're telling them not to worry, it's below a certain number? There is no safe number, Dave. And we've known that. That's why lead-based paints are no longer allowed. That's why.
You know, you're taking me back to what I saw with the topsoil being removed from Lahaina, put in these blue 50-gallon drums, taken to a gunnery range where it was dispersed by the FDA to unknown locations. I think they were removing the evidence of toxicity. What do you think?
I think so too. I honestly do. They also, if you go on to their Maui recovery site, which is, available to everyone, they'll show you a video, and in it, they're like one, and they show the people come out in the full, protective gear, the PPP. And then they're like, then they're out there and they show them on the dozer scraping the soil, then bagging the soil, then putting the bagged soil into a dump truck that is also has a large bag in it so that they can cover that soil so it doesn't fly out as they transport it from one site to another. So if that's not toxic, then do I believe my lying eyes or do I believe my lying ears?
I hear you. I absolutely hear you. It's crazy. The directed energy weapons question, I want to go to that. When Eric West,
yes, sir.
Last name correctly. When Eric was out, he did this video, and I ran all this stuff when I was still on YouTube. And Eric had showed these two cars in particular. I remember how the cars were incinerated, but the surrounding vegetation was not. It was like they were targeted.
Yes,
because
sir.
Nothing around it was damaged. And yet we saw this all the way through Lahaina, where it looked like individual vehicles and homes were targeted and some were left alone. And what I don't understand is how people could deny these were directed energy weapons. And then they ran a disinfo story. I don't know if you knew this or not. Back in, I think it was March, about 5 months before the event, a local TV station out of Oahu ran a story about Chinese lasers coming down on Maui. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I absolutely do.
It didn't make any sense. And then I realized in retrospect, they were setting the stage so they'd have a cover for directed energy weapons. If they got caught, they could blame China.
Yes, sir. I agree with that. Haleakala is not just a star watching, big astro place. It's not. I went up there and you can see their little area over there. It's all fenced in. It has the most up-to-date security cameras. You're not getting close to looking at the stars from that point of view. Now, I'm sure they use it for that. It's a great cover. But I've just heard from too many people that live on that island that there was that smoke, that heavy fog that rolled down that mountain the night the fires began. And
Exactly.
I will never forget that. I will never forget her voice when she told me, and I just, it was so hard for me to believe that anybody would do this. A government, an undercover, a shadow government. For a long time, I would not take one side or the other. I stayed on the fence because I had to make sure that if I agreed that I thought it was a do, that I wouldn't come back to eat those words, But then I see pictures of somebody had sent me a video when the fires began in Texas, and it was a weather app that you could watch, but you could see the straight line where the fire started here, and it looked like an angle, and the fires went in a direct straight line, popping one behind the other like that, just up across. It was not a natural fire. And when I saw that, I went, oh my God, that was a weapon. That was a beautiful line that weapon started and followed the line that was pre-programmed into it.
Governor Abbott, who I'm not a fan of, but he indicated, or I should say insinuated, directed energy weapons were military values. And when you combine it with what Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois said, we need to incorporate illegal aliens into our military and give them full citizenship. And then a third tier of this is what I've covered with actual pictures and videos of Chinese soldiers across our border. No, they're not in uniform, but you can tell they're military by the way they stand. They were military, no question. Officers here, enlisted men here, elder officers here, younger, the whole thing. They had the little backpacks set down at their right foot. They stood at parade at ease. I just look at this is military. Well, and by the way, Paul Preston, good friend of mine from Agenda 21 Radio, head of the New California movement, Paul has eyewitnesses saying that white unmarked vans are going into Camp Pendleton with these Chinese.
And I agree
So
with
they're
that.
incorporating them in our military. So when you say American soldiers would not do this, I totally agree with you.
Yes, sir.
I totally. So now they're trying to replace them with illegal aliens that will do this.
Exactly, Dave, because they have no loyalty to us.
That's right.
It's not their grandmother. It's not their town. It's like whenever, we have hurricanes all the time in Louisiana. We get military from all over the U.S., and they'll be handing out water and food and tarps, and we'll stop and we'll speak and we will thank them for their service. And we always say, where are you from? And it's Tennessee. Kentucky, ma'am. I'm from New York, ma'am. I'm from California. But they're our boys. They're our girls.
I agree.
And whether they are whatever shade of brown or whatever shade of white, they're still Americans' children. They're America's children.
With regard to events related to the election, whether it's the assassination of Robert Kennedy Jr., who they refused to give Secret Service protection to, or the assassination of Trump, or however they go about this, there's going to be a flashpoint this summer. And if we go into civil war, which I think is possible, I think it'll break out in parts and slowly spread, we'll get invaded because we'll be a weakened nation. Russia and China will invade the United States. I already have the plan. I was given this by a high military official years ago. It's a 9-pronged plan of invasion that China and Russia developed together, and our CIA got a hold of it. They published it at the time. They wanted to stop it, so they published it. But they will invade us, and we'll get Congress. Misinformation is you say something that's just incorrect in their opinion. Disinformation is incorrect but lying.
So that's just a little bit of the topics we covered, you guys. It was amazing. I always love when I get to talk to Dave Hodges because I feel like he's like a father figure to a lot of us who are waking up, right? I mean, it's somebody who has a wealth of knowledge that you can pick their brain. Now, I know some of you are going to tell me, yeah, unless you disagree with him and then he blocks you. Well, I've been known to do that too when people get out of way on my channel.